Welcome to the Michigan Golfer Show. Join us each week as we explore the people, the places, and the events that shape our great game.
Hi, I'm Jack Berry, and today we are at the Michigan Golf Hall of Fame being celebrated at the Catke Golf Club here in Big Rapids, Ferris State University, where the Michigan Golf Foundation is going to have our Michigan Golf Hall of Fame here as soon as we get able to dig a hole and and get all the ribbons cut. But tonight we celebrated adding 6 new members to the Michigan Golf Hall of Fame. We have more than 100 in here. We started out with the first 3 were Walter Hagen, Al Watrous, and Chuck Kosis, 3 of the all-time greats, not only in golf, but certainly in the state of Michigan and all of golf. And tonight we're over 100, and tonight we're adding Bob Ackerman, Brian Cairns, Tom Gillis, and 2 ladies, Stacy Slobodnik Stoll, the Michigan State University golf coach, and Susie Green Roebuck. She joins her father Pete in the Michigan Golf Hall of Fame. Well, this is the year of 2017, and our 6th honoree this year is unable to be here. That was Alex Ross, who was born in Dornoch, along with his brother Donald. And Alex came over from Scotland, was the first golf professional at Detroit Golf Club for 31 years, was the first president of the Michigan section of the PGA, and won some of the top tournaments of the time. So the Golf Hall of Fame, as we say, has been going a long time, and it's here at Ferris State, which is the home of the PGA's Professional Golf Management Program. It's the first one in the United States, and there are about 35 or more around the country, and this is the best. Started here where students go for their 4 years, and they spend half the year in school here learning business courses and so forth, and the other half they spend out on the road someplace, kind of in effect like interning at different wonderful golf clubs. And then they come back here to Ferris, and we have graduates of that program are all over the United States and all of the golf clubs. You see a golf professional where you go to school, Ferris State, and that's. We're happy that the Michigan Golf Hall of Fame is able to link in with them and be cited here. Also very pleased to welcome the Ken Janke Sr. family. Ken was he's responsible, along with Stan Aldridge, at Indianwood Golf and Country Club and forming the Michigan Golf Hall of Fame. Stan wanted to know how he could kind of publicize his new course, and when he took it over, and Jim Dooling says, well, let's talk to Jim Dooling from the PGA. He says, well, let's bring in Ken Janke, who is a real golf collector, addict, and loves the game, and he might have some ideas. And Ken's idea was Michigan Golf Hall of Fame. And then I was fortunate to be in on that the first group that picked the first 3 members of the Golf Hall of Fame: Walter Hagen, Chuck Kosis, the greatest amateur ever in Michigan; Al Watrous, the longtime wonderful professional at Oakland Hills Country Club. And the Janke family now has made a significant contribution to the Michigan Golf Foundation that will help do the bricks and mortar for the work so we'll be able to display all of the wonderful mementos that we have from all of the members of the Golf Hall of Fame. Okay, we're with Brian Cairns here at the Michigan Golf Hall of Fame induction ceremony at Catke Golf Course, Ferris State University, home of the PGM program, and future home of the Michigan Golf Hall of Fame. And right now we are honored to have one of this year's honorees, Brian Cairns from Royal Oak grew up in Royal Oak anyway, right?
Well, we grew up in Rochester, Shelby Township, but yeah, I definitely was kicked around a Red Run, Royal Oak.
Well, Brian has had a wonderful career, and like so many others of our inductees, his parents got him into it. So tell us how that happened.
Pretty much, my dad was born and raised in Scotland, and they moved over here after the war, and that's all my dad knew. And they moved over here for obvious reasons, to get ahead. You couldn't get ahead in Scotland or the UK. So they moved here, and my dad played quite a bit of golf. He was a good player. He was a one at one time. So in the early, like 70, 71, he joined Red Run. And that's about the age, I was 5, 6 years old. It was getting to be the age that I could start playing golf, and I was lucky enough to, he just rolled out the red carpet for us and let us play.
Turned over his kilt to you?
Turned over his kilt to me, yeah. It was kind of nice. I hung there as a kid. He made us caddy. It was kind of cool seeing another fellow Hall of Fame member, Jim Dooling. Jim Dooling was the first pro at the golf course I caddied at, Great Oaks.
Oh, really?
So Jim, I learned a lot from Jim, and then John Traub eventually, then on and on. So it's a really cool how things come back full circle.
Well, when you from Red Run, how did you move up through the different steps of professionalism?
Well, playing as amateur golf there, and you played against a lot of good players, and learned a couple good social skills there. But went to school in Florida. Was lucky enough to go to private school in Florida. Graduated in Miami, Florida, at Barry University, and really got a good relationship with Eddie Fergal, and at Miami Shores. And Eddie's the one that said, "You should turn professional. You got what it takes." And Eddie was really adamant about it. I was like, yeah, okay. My dad's like, what are you going to do? I'm like, I don't know. Eddie just told me to turn professional and go work at a club and just figure it out. So that was kind of the way I went, theology major. Then all of a sudden you're at a golf course working at Lagos and Miami Shores. And then I took a job at Country Club of Detroit and got into the business, the PGA program.
So then you've been kind of a home guy since, although you've played all around the country.
Yeah, I played around the country, but this is my home. And I always come back here, although I spent some winters in Florida. This is always going to be my home. My kids are here. My wife's here. She's got a practice here. So this is my home. My family's here.
Well, you've won a lot of section PGA championships, and even won a great big one on the national PGA.
Well, yeah, I've won a couple big ones on the national, but you know what? I always tell the guys at national that, our tournaments are run better in Michigan. We're lucky with, with Ken Devine, the way he brought it along, and then Kevin Helm was kind of taken over, and Jeff Lofstad, now Justin Phillips, but we've had some really, really good people run our tournaments, and it's really easy. You just show up at a tournament and play great golf courses.
Well, now you're teaching at a very popular club, and I think a very popular teaching program there at Fox Hill.
Yeah, Fox Hills, the sisters, Kathy and Sandy, have given us a great opportunity. Jordan Young came there about 10 years ago, and I followed him over there about 9. And Jordan just basically said, hey, do what you do. And you got, he gave me a little window to do what I do, but he said after that you got to start working. But Jordan's really been a great promoter of mine, and as a good friend, Jordan and I have been good friends for 30 years, and he's really put me out in front stage and really sat back and watched me do what I do, and I owe a lot to him.
Now you've straightened out a lot of swings, and
yeah, it's kind of fun. Now you're in a mentoring stage. I've gotten a lot of good players who are now winning AJGA events, and that's kind of fun. Some LPGA girls are calling me, and so it's kind of flattering knowing that your golf talent and your passion can turn into knowledge that somebody else really wants and will be able to pay for it. It's like, wow, this is kind of a cool deal.
Well, it seems like there's a lot more interest in the technical parts of the game, or the swing, or much more than there ever used to be.
I think so. I'm kind of old school. I wear pants to work every day, khaki pants every day. Everyone's like, man, you're like an old timer. The same thing. I'm like khaki pants and white shoes and, my white shirt. But my job is, I got that really a good hard lesson from Ed Fergal and John Gehring, who was at Bloomfield. He says, your job is to preserve the tradition of this game at all cost. Whether you're a stuffed shirt or whatever, you have to preserve those things of the game, because they'll get lost really fast, and these kids will never see it. Make them write papers, make them do history reports on the game. And I do. I kind of hold the kids accountable to know the knowledge and the history of the game.
Do you take them over to Scotland?
No, I haven't yet, but
Do you ever get there with your dad?
Oh, yeah, well, my dad, I haven't gone. I've gone about a dozen times without my dad, but I've gone over there with my brother and a lot of members at clubs, obviously, who can afford to pay for it. But yeah, there's nothing like it. I mean, Northern Scotland, it's got to be my favorite place in the world.
Outside of Michigan.
Outside of Michigan, yeah. I'll tell you what, Michigan's pretty good for 5 months, isn't it, Jack?
Definitely. Brian, it's been terrific talking to you, and congratulations on entering the Michigan Golf Hall of Fame.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much.
And now we have Susie Green Roebuck entering the Michigan Golf Hall of Fame today, and it's kind of a familiar place since her dad was here a while ago, Pete Green. And we've been talking to different honorees today, and almost everybody got started in golf with their parents.
Absolutely. Both of my parents played a lot. That's how they met. That's what they liked to do together, and it was definitely a family affair. And I felt as though, they introduced me to it. I didn't fall in love with it right away. It's very hard, and I was involved in other sports first, but absolutely, fell in love with it, and thank them very much for introducing me.
When did you
to
get
it.
hooked?
I probably got hooked midway through high school. Yeah, I had a little bit of success without much, effort and work at it, and I thought, whoa, if I really work at this, maybe I could get pretty good. So. Yeah.
Well, you won the state championship, didn't you?
I did, my sophomore year, and I feel like I accidentally won that because I think there were better players in the field, but my score was the lowest at the end of the day, so it worked out, and that really kind of spurred everything on. I started working at it a little more seriously then.
And then you went to some college someplace.
Yeah, the Ohio State University.
Did you follow Meg Mallon, or did she follow you?
I followed her for sure, and she left right before I got there, and the coach that recruited me there, he was definitely rebuilding, and I hadn't played a whole lot of golf outside of Michigan, so he knew my family. He had been the assistant pro at Orchard Lake, so he knew my family. He knew that I was probably gonna keep improving, and brought me down to Ohio State, and just fell in love with it. And yeah.
Well, they have a pretty good program there.
They did have a great program. Jack Nicklaus, some guy named Jack Nicklaus went there. Meg Mallon, Rosie Jones. I mean, I followed a lot of great players there, and steadily improved while I was there. I wouldn't say I was a strong player when I got there. We had a very young team, so I got to play a lot right away, and that was a huge plus for me. So
and then you went turn pro when you?
I did. I kept improving every year. It wasn't really a dream of mine. It kind of evolved, and by my last year there, my dad and I had a discussion, and I thought I would probably go into teaching. I was a phys ed major. I thought I would go teach and play amateur golf in the summer, and I thought, I just keep getting better, so I'm gonna give it a shot, and we worked it out, and he gave me 4 years, with some help and financially on the Futures Tour and to get better, and then I got my card that 4th year for the LPGA.
Did you think he regretted not turning pro himself?
I do a little bit. I do. It was different times though, and the money was not
So
there,
different. Yeah.
and Jack was so good that I think a lot of people, in that, even able to be talked about in the same room with Jack Nicklaus, really maybe shied away because he was winning all the time and the money was different, the payouts, and it wasn't as well respected back then. My grandfather just thought, no, you're going to stay amateur. You're going to, and, come to work for me. So
Like Bob Jones.
Yeah, exactly.
But you did go on tour and played on the Symetra Tour?
I
won
did.
there?
It's now called the Symetra. It was the Futures when I went out there, and I won 4 events out there and had many top 10 finishes, and really got comfortable out there and felt I belonged, and got out to the LPGA and did all right out there. It's a different ball game once you get out there, and never quite broke through out there. I was kind of considered more of a fringe player, and wasn't one of the top players, but playing with them, it was the best experience, and I wouldn't change it for a second. It was a great experience.
Well, now you've become kind of a state dominator, haven't you?
Well, these state opens are really becoming something, because the tour has become so international, and I think these state opens really have the right idea. And the Michigan, it was first of all just residents and players from Michigan, and now it's opened. And that was a gift last year. That was not going up there expecting to win that, but that it all came together. So that was fun.
Well, terrific, Susie, and a very welcome, big welcome to the Michigan Golf Hall of Fame.
Thank you very much. It's an honor, truly.
Hall of Fame. Hi, well, now we're with Bob Ackerman, who is one of the honorees on the Michigan Golf Hall of Fame today, and Bob got his start as a toddler way over on the southwest side of the state. Tell us about it, Bob. Tell us about your parents getting you into golf.
Well, my dad, he was a club champion at that time was Bowling Green Lanes and Country Club. They had a bowling alley along with a little 18-hole golf course, and he was club champion there 30 straight years. And so there was a lot of club championship trophies on a TV set. And that was a big deal, when September came around and my dad was playing in the club championship. I mean, the tenseness in the house. I mean, it was such a big deal, and so he was a real inspiration to me. And my mother, she ran the junior golf program, which maybe had 6 or 8 kids in it. The golf course I grew up on was 5,500 yards long, par 67,
okay.
And my dad had the course record. He shot a 60, and so. I can remember the 10th hole. It was about 110-yard par 3 over a little pond. You had to hit it about 50 yards to carry the pond. But I was maybe I don't know 8 or 9 years or 10 years old, and I hit a 3-wood, and I hit it right over the pond onto the green. And some other lady says, "Wow, nice shot!" And that was the shot that really hooked me in golf. It happens to everybody, but I can remember that shot to this day. And so, having a mom and dad that really loved the game and were outdoor people, real sportsmen. My dad also was a first-team All-State high school championship basketball player, too.
At Bridgman, right?
At Bridgman, yeah, at Bridgman. Yeah, the course now is called Pebblewood. And so, having a golf course right there handy and having my dad's legacy there and his guiding hand along the way and the total support of my mother. Along with, I was a basketball player too. I played all sports, but having that golf course there, which was perfect for kids.
The first that I saw you was at Bedford Valley.
Yeah.
And that's when you were a college kid and you beat the big guys.
Yeah, that was a thrill.
Well, the first year. Were you runner-up? You were close the first
I tied
year?
for first in 1974. Yeah, I like 3-putted 3 of the last 9 holes. I gave the tournament away, and then was in a 5-man playoff with Al Menger, Gene Bone, Tom Rosalie, and Lynn Jansen. And I'll never forget because Rosalie and Gene Bone missed putts this long on the first hole to win the tournament. I mean, they were close. I couldn't believe they missed it. And then on the second playoff hole, I was the only one on the green in 2, but everybody got it up and down. And on the third hole, Jansen made a 25-foot birdie putt to win. And then the following year, I won. So if they counted both years, I still had the lowest score over 2 years.
Now that was in
1975 when I won.
And you won as a professional in 2003.
Yeah.
Wow, what a span.
28 years.
What happened in between?
Oh, a lot. I'll tell you, a lot happened. Yeah, I could talk for hours on that one. But I just basically just kept being Bob Ackerman, which is, playing golf and hitting balls on the range and always it's associated with some kind of golf facility and always working hard on my game.
Long-time club pro over in Aurora?
14 years at Aurora Country Club. I took over for Felice Torza, and Torza lost in the finals of the 1953 PGA to Walter Berkemo. Right. So there's a Detroit connection there, and so I spent 14 years at Aurora, and I was part of that Chicago golf scene. I learned a lot about golf, and a lot about caddy programs and walking and that Chicago golf style approach, and I had a lot of success as a player in that section.
Success, yes. You were Player of the Year and
4
championships.
Yeah, I was 4 times Illinois PGA Player of the Year. I won 5 match play championships, 2 section PGA championships, and the Illinois Open. And in fact, in 1988, I won the Section PGA in August, won the match play championships in September. The following June, I won the Illinois Open. So I had all three of these big silver trophies at the same time. And then in 1999, after I had left Chicago, I went back to playing the Chicago Open, and I won the Chicago Open. So I'm the only player that holds all four of those titles.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's
Well, I know they're hot for golf over there.
Yeah, they really are. Yeah, just like Michigan. Yeah.
So now, what made you come back to Michigan?
Well, I got a job. I got at a club, and I thought it was going to be the job I always wanted to have, and it turned out to be just the opposite. And I had a wife and 4 kids, and I was had to get those kids into school. I couldn't be jumping around all over the country trying to find a club job, and so so I've been here for 20 years now. Yeah.
Well, you're teaching over in Troy, is it?
I'm teaching at Moose Ridge in South Line, which is a phenomenal golf course with a really nice practice facility, and another course in the area. And then I have a couple of indoor facilities too that I teach at, in the off season.
Well, you're busy.
I am, and it's working out pretty good. Before this year, I had my own golf academy and driving range, which I operated for 12 years, and so that really kept me busy.
Now, are you playing a lot of senior golf?
I play as much as I can. I still enjoy it, which is the whole idea for anybody to play golf. I enjoy the competition. And so I'll play in my usual schedule, which is the Michigan Open, Michigan Senior Open, Michigan PGA, Michigan Senior PGA.
You never get to play then. You never get to play.
Yeah.
Well, that's terrific. Well, it's really nice to see you be honored as a member of the Michigan Golf Hall of Fame. We have more than 100 members now from when this started, and a very worthy member, Bob Ackerman.
Well, thanks, Jack.
Golf Hall of Fame. It's Stacy Slobodnik Stoll, who is the golf coach at Michigan State University, another good Spartan. I have to always put that in. And Stacy is into the Michigan Golf Hall of Fame, one of the great additions to our membership of more than 100 famous golfers throughout the golf life of the state of Michigan. And Stacy, you got started like a lot of our other honorees tonight. Your parents.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
Well, mainly my dad.
Okay.
And my dad played golf at Illinois State. And really, when we moved to Grand Rapids when I was in 2nd grade, that's what we did all summer, was hang out at Green Ridge Country Club. So I kind of really didn't even have a choice. I was either going to be a swimmer or a golfer.
And you picked golf.
Luckily, yes. That was a good choice.
Well, you were a top junior in high school and golf in the college. And tell us about how it was growing up through all those phases.
Well, I would say my dad always likes to tell everyone that I didn't really truly find the passion for golf until high school. That's why I still have hope for my 13-year-old right now. And just started having a little success in high school that just kept snowballing. And I had the opportunity to have Lynn Jansen as the pro at our club, who obviously is a huge Spartan. And that's how I really got to Michigan State. Mr. Jansen called my coach, Mary Fossum, on my behalf. And I landed at Michigan State and did okay there, and then had the opportunity to turn pro from the nice members at Cascade Hills Country Club, where I worked during the summers of college. And then in 1995, got a call from my coach, Mary Fossum, asking if I wanted to be her assistant at Michigan State. And so I said yes, kind of reluctantly at first, because I was still playing very competitive golf. But I said yes, and that's really where it all kind of started with the coaching career.
Well, you were traveling while you were playing professionally, right? And here you were able to stay home.
Yeah, well, yes. I think I almost travel more now with coaching than I did with playing. But, my professional career was very short. I just really did it for just under a year. I didn't really give it a full shot, I don't think, but that was just fine. I quickly got my amateur status back so I could still compete and so I could coach. I thought that was something that I should do and was able to do. And it's just been so beneficial from a recruiting standpoint and from the players that still understand that I understand what's going on the golf course, because I still am competitive today.
Well, you've won practically every tournament possible in the state, all the GAM tournaments, and you have a lot of silverware at home, I'm sure.
Yes, I do. But I just love what I do. I love that I can coach and still be competitive, and to me, the best game in the world.
Now, when did you start coaching at Michigan State? When were you the head coach?
So I got the head coaching job in 1997. So just a few years ago.
Yeah. And you've won a number of Big Ten titles.
Yep.
What is it, 5?
6.
6?
Yeah, I've
okay.
got another one this
All
year.
right,
got another
good.
one 2 months ago. So 6 Big Ten titles.
And how many NCAAs?
No NCAA titles yet.
No, but
we're working on it.
Competed in them.
Oh yes, lots of them.
Yeah.
I think we've been to 12 or 13 out of 20 years of coaching. Been to the NCAA regional tournament 18 times, and have a bunch of players on the professional tour right now, mainly on the Symetra. But lots of All-Americans. Had the highest team GPA of all of our teams on campus for the past 6 years. And
Fabulous.
yes, thank you. So not only are they great players, but they're wonderful golfers as well.
Now, how has it changed in the time that from the time that you started to what it's like now? Looking at the NCAA Women's Championship
It's
a week or so ago, it's wow.
Yeah, wow, because I remember when I was in school, when you broke 80, that was a pretty good round. 78, 77, that was good. And now if our kids aren't shooting under par, they're very disappointed. So just the scoring averages have come down. The intensity of what we're doing, Division I college athletics across the board has skyrocketed. And Mary, my coach, could tell you that every kid would get a sleeve of balls and a golf shirt for the whole semester. And now, what we have in the facility that Michigan State just built for our golf programs is really tremendous. We get to fly on private jets. We have an incredible, beautiful Michigan State van, travel all around the country playing against the best teams in the country at some of the best facilities in the country. So it's quite an opportunity to be a student athlete.
And they come from everywhere. I noticed that was the Oregon team with one from Germany, one from Belfast, one from Italy, and one from Sweden.
Yes.
I think.
Well,
How do you do?
I've got one from Spain. I've got one that just arrived from Japan. But I also have my Minnesota, Indiana, and Michigan kids, too, that we're obviously very proud of.
Was it pretty tough recruiting these days?
Oh, well, recruiting's always tough because it's whether we're fighting, the weather or we're fighting more schools. There's a lot more parity in women's golf. That's what's really happened when you were asking about how it's changed. Yeah. When I first started, there were maybe, 5 to 8 teams that could always win a national championship. Now there's 20. It's really, and especially now with the match play format, we feel like it could be 30, teams that could possibly win. So it's pretty exciting.
Well, watching the golf on television, they're sensational. Great play.
Yes, they are. We had Sarah Burnham, our junior, 2-time All-American, shoot 63 at the Big Ten Championship this year, which was a school, course, and Big Ten conference record. So 11 birdies.
Wow.
It's inspirational. Kind of gave me inspiration for my game. Like, okay, I just watched this young person do this. Everyone can do it.
That's terrific. Well, we've been talking with Stacy Stoll, who is the golf coach at Michigan State University in East Lansing. Of course, I know well, or more at school I know well. I had 3 daughters that were Spartan graduates.
Wonderful. Go green.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Stacy.
Sure.
Terrific.
Thank you, Jack.
Wonderful. And we've got Tom Gillis in the Michigan Golf Hall of Fame, and Tom is one of the inductees this year who started out with his parents playing golf, and I think it's something that we can hopefully look forward to in the future for a lot of Michigan families. And Tom, tell us about how you started in golf and your parents out there in Lake Orion area.
Yeah. No, my mom and dad took me out there. I think probably first time I was probably in that 11-year-old range, and I didn't take a whole much interest to it at the time. And then a couple years later, I circled back around and probably got a little stronger physically, and I started hitting the ball better, farther, higher, and then I was hooked. So that's kind of how it happened. Then I started caddying at Indianwood, and they went hand in hand.
Well, you were there at Indianwood for quite a while, weren't you?
Yeah, well, still am, really. But I worked there for 9 years or whatever, from like 82 to 91, something like that. So, it was a big part of it, along with my mom and dad.
And then you got into the big-time golf, starting in the 90s. 93 or so?
Yeah. I turned pro in the spring of 1990, and I just assumed it would be short-lived. We'd say we did it for a little bit, and after a certain amount of time, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, it's point of no return. So you just try to soldier through it. And
now, were you playing like the mini tours?
Yeah, I play the first 4 or 5 years were the mini tours all over the United States, and then I started going to South Africa in around 1995, and did Asia a little bit, and then I got my European tour card in 1998, and I spent 5 years over there. So
I played like 96 countries. What were the pluses and the minuses?
Well, I think seeing new things is, some of it was eye-opening, and I think it gives you you gain perspective on how you're living and how good a life you have here in the United States. So I think I saw both sides of it. It made me appreciate things. Even at the best places I went, I still truly in my heart, Michigan was still my home.
And you played with Sevy, I understand, for a couple of rounds.
Yeah, I played with a lot of guys over there, but Sevy was instrumental in me when I first got over there with my short game. We just happened to hit it off and get along well, and I played a couple practice rounds with him. Probably played 3 practice rounds with him, and played 4 rounds with him in tournament play. And he was always kind to me and always willing to help at any time.
Well, he was in my lifetime. He was the greatest European player.
Yeah, he was a phenomenal touch around the greens. It was it was like artwork watching it. It was really impressive.
What countries did you enjoy?
Well, I always enjoyed Stockholm in Sweden and Old Town. I stayed right there. Switzerland was a neat place. Italy was neat. I always liked going to Asia, Singapore and Kuala Lumpur and Malaysia. Australia is a great country as well. South Africa was an awesome place as well. That's one of my favorite places, Cape Town and places like that.
So why did you come home?
Well, home is home. It was in my heart. It just wasn't home over there. I always felt like I was there for a reason, and I was there for a reason. And then even when we lived in Florida for 5 years, from 2008 to 2013, my heart was still here. Even when I was playing the tour and working out of there, I still knew we'd be back here at some point.
Well, now you've come back and you've been playing in a number of the Michigan section tournaments, but you got out on the big tour too. I recall a couple of years ago you over at that tractor place, John Deere,
yeah,
that you got into it, and some rookie managed to nudge you out. Who was that?
Yeah, well, Jordan Spieth there. Yeah, he I think he was number 1 player in the world at the time. So, the 2 battles I've gotten in where I finished second. I finished second to Roy McIlroy, and he went to number 1 in the world that day when he beat me and Tiger. And then Jordan was either number 1 or went to number 1 right then and there as well. So it seemed like I picked the toughest kid on the block, but it is what it is.
Well, you played good to get there.
Well, when I was playing well, it proved to me that when I had my game in order, it was as good as anybody's in the world. It's just I didn't have it in order enough.
Well, you got a couple of years left to get on that rich senior tour.
Well, I'm planning on going that way. Yeah, I want to give that a shot.
Well, I'm sure that you'll do well. Now, here's a guy who's only won the $6 million so far, and you need a little more.
Yeah, well, I think he could always use a little more. Stan Aldridge told me one time, he goes, "Don't worry, son, the more you make, the more you're going to spend," and he's been spot on that. So.
Well, we're happy to have you in the Michigan Golf Hall of Fame. We've got more than 100 members now, all the very best players, and you definitely are one of them. So congratulations, Tom.
Well, thank you. I'm humbled to be here.